Hello, friends and gamers. Thanks again for listening and watching on YouTube. I appreciate that. So it's an FPS Friday. That means First-Person Shooter Friday, everybody's favorite, where I'm going to spend the better part of the day and the evening playing Halo and Call of Duty. Yeah, I'm going to get back into a little bit of Call of Duty today because I miss it. I do miss those guns. But let me start off with the rumors about Titanfall. Now that the beta's closed and we get prepared for the launch of Titanfall, the game from Respawn Entertainment, if you are ignorant of the fact that this is a huge title to be coming to the Xbox One, investors think this is the game that's going to save Xbox One. And yes, people, you should be worried. Xbox is in trouble, okay? Believe the hype, Xbox is in trouble. PS4 will dominate this generation of consoles. You heard it here first. Jump onto Boogie2988's YouTube channel, leave some comments and say, hey, guess what? Gunner from Gamers on Tap said, you are wrong, buddy. Xbox One's going down. I'm confident. I'm confident in saying that, and I don't want it to happen. I like Xbox. But clearly there's trouble. The Microsoft investors basically want Microsoft to get back to its core business, which is providing services, software and services to businesses. That's what they do. The whole venture into the hardware business via the console and the tablets and the phones isn't really working out that well. People aren't using the consoles and the tablets to sign up for services. That's where they're in trouble. With Amazon looking to add another piece of hardware to their business, it looks like Amazon could own Xbox. I'm sure the branding will stay the same. The games will stay the same. A lot of people that work there will stay the same. But look for it, people. It's going to happen. All right, enough of that. Enough of that speculation from a person on the internet that just reads the trade blogs. Okay, Titanfall. Yeah, Titanfall closed its beta, successful. More than 2 million people signed on to play. Everybody's raving about it. Lots of YouTubers like it. Lots of gamers can't wait to get their hands on a little pilot and watch them jump into their Titan. But if you're into eSports and competitive gaming, Titanfall might not be the game for you. And I'm not talking about balance or gameplay here. I'm talking about the fact that it's a relatively small studio. They raised a lot of money and funding to get started. I mean, it's not an indie by any stretch. But Respawn did not have the resources, one, to put together a story mode or campaign. They've already admitted that. The resources they had to dedicate to developing this game, they had to put toward the multiplayer. And that's why you don't see a campaign. The other thing that's going to be missing? Custom matches. Private matches. All the tools and features that you would expect of a game so that it plays well in a tournament, a LAN setting, eSports, if you will, Titanfall won't have. At least not at launch. The CEO, Vince Zampella, he tweeted out that they will add custom matches, or that feature, after the game launches. And I love it when people from companies say stuff like that. Soon. Expect this soon. Can't we remember back? Let's go in the way back machine. Was it last year? Or the year before? Maybe it was last. I don't know. I can't remember. But Halo 4, the guys at 343 were saying, oh, you're going to get your skill-based ranks beginning next year. And everybody thought, oh, January 1st, because that's the next year. No, knuckleheads. That's not what it means. They're giving you a loose time frame because they know it's going to take a while. If they were confident they could deliver in, let's say, a month or 2 weeks, they would give you 2 weeks or a month. When they say soon, after launch, that's indefinite, buddy. That's not in a hurry. That means they're going to start working on it after launch. And if you think that that's going to be their main focus, then you're lying to yourselves. Because look, after launch, what they're going to have to worry about are patches. They're going to have to start working on network code and improving that. They have to start working on DLC. Other ways to monetize the game. If they sell a lot of copies after launch and people are happy with it and they're making money, why would they spend the extra resources into a feature that doesn't really give them return on investment? All that money spent on the custom matches and making it palatable for eSports tournaments and leagues like Major League Gaming, that's not a return on investment if they're already making a lot of money. People wonder why Halo isn't in business to make the game Halo 4 the current iteration of Halo franchise into a esports friendly game? Because they don't have to. They don't have to. They're making money anyway. They make money off the franchising of Master Chief and Halo. You have toys and comic books. There's a live action TV series coming to Xbox One. They're not concerned with advertising through tournament gameplay. Activision Blizzard sees it as a benefit to their titles because they've got StarCraft 2 and other games. It's just a further extension of their marketing campaign for Call of Duty, a way to keep it relevant. Because let's be honest, Call of Duty is getting stale at this point. It's the same game rehashed over and over and over again. So it was a move, a couple of years back to start pushing for it to be involved in Major League Gaming. And don't give me this some sort of weird, bizarro world explanation that it's the tournament and esports community and businesses that are deciding which games they want to use. No, it's a combination of the two. MLG has already come out and said that the games and publishers that work well with them, those are the ones they're going to use. If they call up the publisher and say, hey, or the developer and say, hey, look, you got to remove this game or remove this feature, remove this weapon from your game because it's unbalanced. And the developer says, go pound sand, we're happy with our game. Well, guess what? MLG's not going to use it. That might be what happened to Halo Reach. But if Activision Blizzard plays nice and says, oh yeah, really? Okay, well, we'll start tweaking some things. We'll take your suggestions under consideration and we'll make some improvements. Activision did that. And it brought new life into the game. You have a lot of, esports professionals moving on to Call of Duty. Activision sees it as another opportunity to further market their brand and their game, and it's not going to get stale because they reinvent themselves every couple of years. And by the way, I'm not just making that up. That's Mark Sespo, co-founder of MLG, saying that in an article on Recode.net. He said that some companies, some developers actually listen to them and will make changes to their games, whereas others basically say, no, we are happy with our game. We've put in the hours. We've developed this game. We're happy with it. We're not going to make changes. That's the deciding factor right there, whether your favorite game gets put into the esports tournament business or not. Does the publisher want to use tournaments as a form of marketing? It's really simple. But I had a friend on Twitter ask me why games like Halo Reach, you can't play them even in online tournaments or websites that offer things like game battles. I think MLG runs game battles. Again, my response would be it has to do with support. One, MLG is going to listen to its fans and patrons. And if players say, hey, look, this game is unbalanced, there's a glitch here, or something's not right, MLG will try and recreate those scenarios. If they can, they'll be an advocate for the players. They'll call up the developers and say, hey, look, would you mind making these changes? And if they make those changes, well, they continue to use that game because now there's some cooperation. If the developer doesn't want to hear it, there's no incentive for the esports business or company to continue using that game. And unfortunately, one of my pet peeves is that the esports it's dependent upon these games from businesses. And the businesses don't have an incentive to make a game for tournaments or esports. They have an incentive to make a game to sell copies, to make money, to turn a profit. And you turn a profit by releasing new games, by updating your franchise. So you're trying to find this happy medium in between a good competitive game, a publisher and developer that will work with the competitive community to make a game that fits tournament style, competitive, awards-based, professional esports, but also meets the marketing demands of modern day, of today, of the now. They've got to sell a game that people will buy, that they see on the shelf and say, hey, I've got to have that game, or they see a YouTube video of it and they say, hey, I've got to have this game. And you're not going to produce DLC for 6 years straight on an old title. It makes more sense just to go ahead and update the title. based on new technology, new features, new hardware, new software tools. Yeah, it's a weird mix. I don't think it's perfect, and that's probably why you see only a couple of tournaments or esports businesses that are doing well, and the rest are just floundering. And you only see a couple of titles being played at these tournaments. You can't have every single game that feels competitive be put on, at a tournament. It has to be a perfect storm. And you have that a little bit with the games that are out there. Like I said, get into League of Legends if you're a competitive gamer. Get into StarCraft. Get into Dota. If you want to go that like put on your own tournaments, get into Super Smash Brothers. I just don't see Halo ever coming back. The Arena Gaming League was a startup league, esports company. They tried to promote Halo as its marquee game for tournaments. That company lasted a year. They just couldn't do it. But I think, it's just my opinion, they failed because they were trying to copy somebody else's business model. They were trying to be the MLG. They were trying to be MLG, and it just wasn't going to work. Because MLG already has branding, and they already have loyal customers, basically. They have loyal fans themselves. They're not going to just jump off the MLG train and go to your tournaments now. It's really hard to just be a copycat and be successful. I admire the risk they took, because you need more people out there taking those sorts of risks. Eventually someone will hit on something. But it didn't work. It wasn't because the Halo was unpopular. I don't believe that. I just believe that they tried to copy someone else's business model. And you couldn't find new customers because those customers were already attached to MLG. They were familiar with their format. And MLG provides better services. The quality of the online streaming is better. The quality of their website is better. And look, because MLG has been around a lot longer. They've had more time to learn from their mistakes and improve on the things that they do well. AGL, it was too late. A little too late. But that doesn't mean that new people shouldn't be entering this space as far as esports as a business. I think that ultimately, if you wanted to, let's say you want to make Halo Reach a competitive game featured in tournaments in the future, and you have the money, you can raise the funds to start a new business. I think what you have to do is you have to think outside the box. You can't just copy somebody else's business model and expect immediate success. I think maybe they should take the McDonald's approach. McDonald's is not a business about burgers, milkshakes, and chicken nuggets. It's a franchise. It's a real estate business. McDonald's buys up real estate, good real estate, for their fast food restaurants. And they don't operate those restaurants. They immediately franchise them. They look for investors. People who want to start a company but don't really have a great idea. So you raise some money and you franchise. Now you're the proud owner of a McDonald's, a franchise owner. And it's great because you get all the branding, you get all the menu, all the support. You don't have to come up with your own menus or way to cook burgers or advertising. That's all done for you at headquarters. You're a franchise owner. I think that's the future of esports. And I got this idea from a blog, esportsbusiness.com. Imagine that. How very cryptic of a website address, esportsbusiness.com. It's just a little blog. It just had this one idea on there, and I thought, I have never heard this or read this anywhere. This does make complete and total sense. I actually had a business idea a few years ago when I got into clans. Yes, I was into clans. I was playing Halo 3 and somebody invited me to a clan, and I said, what's a clan? I guess I'll join up. And guys were sending me messages online. Hey, we should practice this day and change your armor to this color and change your gamer tag to XYZ, then your name. You will now be a private in the, I don't know, Lords of Dogtown clan. We are all about 1970s skater surfer theme. I'm making that last part up. But I was into the clans, and I started thinking, wow, these guys have their own websites. They're out of pocket just, running their own websites. They're really involved with this. There's a lot of time spent organizing the clan, keeping up with rosters and play dates and tips, and they were running their own little small tournaments online, handing out, I don't know, like $20 credits, Microsoft points as awards. And I thought, this is a lot of effort into something that's basically nonprofit. Actually, it's a losing business. I mean, it's not a business at all. They were just doing it for the love of gaming. And my idea was, wow, what if you could put together a shell of a clan? Website support, rules for your clan, all the tools that you would need so that you didn't have to say, hey, I wanted a clan, and you take all the guesswork out of establishing a clan. It's built ready to go, out of the box. You just slap your name on it, and you've got all the rules set up. And after that, you can tweak it and customize it. And I would provide consulting services ongoing if they have any problems. I thought, wow, this would be good. And I tried it out on a limited basis. I had a couple of guys I was building some websites for and doing some things. And it was okay. It worked okay. But there wasn't a lot of demand for it because essentially people who want to build clans, they really want full, complete ownership. They want to give birth to this thing themselves. They don't want to adopt a clan. They want to be the proud mother and father of their very own clan. So I gave up on that idea. But in thinking about it as far as an eSports business, let's use AGL as an example. Instead of using all of their funds and investing in tournaments right out of the gate, where their only profit margin will come from selling passes and entry fees for their tournaments. And you have a lot of overhead. The renting out the space, hotel, banquet, conference areas, all the equipment and streaming services, all of that. A lot of overhead. And you've got to get people that are willing to fly out to show up in person to these events and buy the passes. So what if they took a different approach? Instead of using real-life real estate, what if they just used digital real estate? And they said they wanted to give you an out-of-the-box, turnkey-ready, franchised eSports league. So let's say instead of having this clan, Lords of Dogtown, I am the Lords of Dogtown owner of AGL franchise. And so I've got all the rules set in place, the tournament structure, web support, consult administrative support from AGL headquarters to run my local, basically, website and go out and recruit myself. And I can use AGL's branding to help recruit people into my tournament. I think it would be great. And of course, AGL wins because I have to invest up front. A substantial fee. I have to license the AGL name to run on my website. I think that would be great. I think that's great for everybody. If they went that route, you could keep smaller games like Halo Reach in play or Halo 3 in play. I don't know. If you wanted to go back and use, I don't know, give me an older game. I don't know, maybe one of the very first Call of Duties that was multiplayer. You could do that, I believe, and I think it would be successful, at least more successful and less risk than trying to set up your own tournament on your college campus or in your hometown where you actually have to rent space and equipment and then charge entry fees for people to show up. And look, when you're not established, it's really hard to get people to part with even $15 or $20 for something that's unknown. And if they show up and there's a cup, some paper plates and some red Solo cups and some, soda on the counter and some, old computers and Xboxes laying around, people walking around with T-shirts and hoodies, it doesn't feel like you've spent that money very well, even though it's only $15 or $20. And believe it or not, it's something I've scratched my head about, this price point issue with gamers. When I was trying to run a little small clan business, trying to figure out the price points, what are people willing to pay to enter an online tournament, to pay for, like I said, even some online web consulting, some, Photoshop help, any sort of assistance in running your clan online. Charge $5. People don't want to do it. Even though you'll spend $8 changing your gamertag name if you join another clan and you think, oh, well, that's free. They just forced you to cough up $8 more to Microsoft for no apparent reason. And you did it willingly. Why? So that you could now be called a sergeant in their clan, which means absolutely nothing because the clan could probably disappear in 2 months. But ask someone to pay $5 for a service online, and all of a sudden people start getting cynical and thinking, oh, I'm getting ripped off. I'm getting taken advantage of. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't crack that nut. So believe me, if you're going to be a startup esports tournament business and you want to start charging a fee for people to enter your tournament, you've got a lot of investing to do up front to make this thing look legit. You've got to do a lot of marketing and a lot of branding. So it's not a surprise that AGO went under. It's not. But I don't think that's the end. I think that there's still an opportunity for esports to be a business for small startups. You don't have to concede that the companies that are already making business are the only ones that will matter. I mean, this is the generation of disruptors. Business disruptors. The old way of doing business isn't necessarily the best way. Technology is moving at an exponential rate. Who would have guessed that Twitch would be something that Sony wanted to incorporate and Xbox wanted to incorporate in their consoles? Who would have guessed that 3 or 4 years ago? Nobody. Could you go back 10 years and fathom the popularity of YouTube? You can't. You can't predict the future by looking at the past. All you can do is look at the trends right now and make your best guess. And I say that whoever's standing tall right now, as far as the company is concerned, won't necessarily be standing tall in a few years. They may be a little bit taller, but watch out for the disruptors. Because technology will make new things possible. I think franchising digital space for esports is the way to go because esports isn't going away. It's just not. It's kind of staying in this weird kind of one foot in mainstream culture, the other foot in this niche culture. It's not going to be on ESPN anytime soon. Every now and then you'll see an ESPN feature story. It's not going to break through the mainstream because that's old business. That's the old paradigm. They don't want, there's nothing in it for them to get on board with esports because their entire business models, and I'm talking about sports journalism, the old paradigm of sports journalism is designed to cover traditional sports, and they've invested heavily on it. They're not willing to recognize something else until esports demands it, until Sports Illustrated, until CBS Sports, until ESPN and Fox Sports, until they start recognizing that they're losing out on a big market, then they'll make the switch. So the esports market isn't that big yet, but it's not going away. It's certainly not going away. FPS Friday. This was a more serious conversation today. Don't really have any beer jokes or anything like that to get involved because, I was given the question earlier in the week and I really wanted to get to it. I really wanted to talk about esports as a business because, like I said, I've thought about it and I've tried. I've dabbled in some gaming-related business ideas, and it's difficult. It is difficult to find an area that you can find a market and that you can turn a profit. It's a little bit difficult because, like I said, gamers and web-savvy consumers are cynical about anybody offering a service online. They think they're getting ripped off. They want to be assured 100 times over that this is a legit business. They want to see a lot of customers already. And really the business model is you have to offer your service for free for a long time. Your early adopters are going to be free users. And really the business model is just to offer services for free and then rely on advertising. Because like I said, web consumers, gamers, don't want to part with $5. They would rather spend the money on, for like me, beer. If you're in Colorado, some weed. And that DLC and those microtransactions, man, it adds up. Can't be spending $5 and $6 to some web guy because he says he's going to help out my clan. It doesn't work that way. So lastly, back on this esports thing, here's why I really believe that esports is legitimate. It will only grow and gain more respect among, the non-gaming community. And that's because, one, even according to Cespo, when he's talking about like the top Call of Duty players in the world, that they're all fit. This whole idea that you spend so many hours playing games and that you're not in shape is false. Because in this day and age, people who are competitive at gaming, they're starting to understand the importance of nutrition and exercise and health in relation to gaming. I've talked about before how it's your eyesight, it's your basic health. Oxygen flow, oxygen levels in your blood are important because it helps your brain function. You need to be aware. You have to respond quickly, analyze data, make decisions quickly. It helps if you're in better shape because everything works better. I love running, and one of the reasons why is I just think more clearly when I run. There's just something that feels so natural, so human about running. I feel like human beings resort to the core of who we are as a species while we are running. The world moves by at a pace that is just at the edge of our understanding. Human beings weren't meant to move at 60 miles per hour. That's why you can't see things in your peripheral that well at that speed. But when you're running, we were designed to move at that speed. We see everything. Our senses are working. It just feels natural. And my brain is on overdrive. Lots of ideas. I just think clearly and feel better when I'm running. So clearly exercise and health are important if you're gaming. The other point is that there are researchers, scientists that are doing studies on is there considerable difference between someone who's considered an expert and professional esports gamer and someone who's a casual gamer. And their study is leaning towards, yes, there is definitely a skill gap. It exists. It's real. I'll have the link on the blog gamersontap.blogspot.com for the link to the research study that I found. And what it really boils down to is something. It's qualitative practice versus quantitative. If you take a musician and you look at how many dedicated hours they have at practicing versus how much time they just spent playing, you'll see that people who spend time dedicated to practicing, that means their playing time is focused on improving one specific skill set before moving on. Those people will perform better, gain better skill, and be judged as a better musician against the other people who just play. And anybody who's ever picked up a guitar as just a hobby will tell you that. You can spend all your time playing for years and years and years, just trying to learn a song here and there, playing the same song over and over again, rearranging the same 4 chords into different harmonies, all, over and over again for years. You're not going to improve. But if you work on specific skills, if you work on improving on skills in a linear fashion, you will become a better musician over time. The same thing can be said about gamers and esports professionals, i.e. pros. They spend more time dedicated to working on specific skills. They practice scenarios. They don't just log on and play for a couple of hours and then log off and count that as practice time. That is not practice. That's playing. And you don't improve that way. So it's clear that esports professionals are athletes and skilled players in the same sense that a football player is a skilled athlete. That person has honed their skills over years and years, building on previous techniques and skill sets. That's how you legitimize the sport as well. And it's happening. So esports will be around. But going back, one last time, going back to that idea of franchising, here's another benefit to starting up an esports company and franchising it in the digital space. You want to set up smaller leagues. You want entry-level leagues that teach the basics of the sport. Competitive games and shooters have skill gaps. That's what separates them from casual games. A casual player should not be able to improve on their skills by just simply playing. If the game forces you to practice specific skills in order to improve, that's a competitive game. So how do traditional sports do this? They have little leagues, right? Pop Warner, Pee Wee football. The purpose of Pee Wee football isn't to find the fastest kid or for the coach to relive his youth and win games. You're basically teaching the fundamentals to the sports to these young children. These are the rules. These are the positions. That's your goal as a coach when you're coaching youth sports. Teaching the rules, the positions, the fundamentals of the game. If the kids enjoy it at that level, now they have the basis understanding, the foundation. The bricks have been laid, the cement has been poured. Now let's start working on the frame. And as they progress into these leagues, as they get through high school or travel, college, and then the pros, at each level they're still honing their craft, they're learning skills. You need the same thing in esports. You're not going to have colleges and high schools adopt this and do it for you. But there's a business opportunity if you franchise it to smaller leagues to teach this. And, oh, by the way, just like music, video games, you have to target the young kids because the brain is more malleable when you're younger. In between those like mid-teen years to high school age, maybe young adulthood, 20, that's your time to improve on some cognitive skills. After that, you're really not going to improve that much. You need to have an entry-level league where you can teach people the rules, teach them how to practice, teach them the fundamentals of gaming, and allow them to improve. And now you'll have some high-caliber professional gamers for the future. Esports legitimized, competitiveness, and then more games will have to take notice and build their games with esports in mind. Because right now, they don't have to. Look at Halo. They do not have to. I think you just take that advice from humble little old me, and you'd be all right. All right, thanks for listening. Leave a comment, subscribe, share, tweet. Mention me on Facebook. Mention me on YouTube. Mention me anywhere. I would appreciate it. If you have an idea for me, send me a tweet, send me an email, leave a comment on the blog. I'll get back to you if you have an idea for the show. I will listen. I am approachable because I am small time right now. So let me get to know you. Get to know me. Thanks again. I am Gunnar, and this was the Gamers on Tap podcast.